Dr. King was a human rights campaigner and a fierce advocate for justice. He advocated for racial justice and economic justice. But most foundationally, Dr. King was a follower of Jesus. He was trying to make his way in a world where the patterns of that world had immense friction with the patterns and ways of Christ and his kingdom. Dr. King preached and taught on this topic often. In a sermon titled "The Transformed Nonconformist," he talked about and called Christians in all times, in all places, to examine how the ways of the world around them were at odds with the ways of Christ and his kingdom. Dr. King looked at what Paul wrote in Romans 12, to not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Dr. King drew a ton of inspiration from the early church as they navigated serving Christ and following him in the Roman Empire, which was marred with violence and exploitation and inequality. But Dr. King called people to be nonconformists in this way to these patterns of our world with radical love and humility, to carry the transformational power of Christ with them into every interaction, especially those bold interactions of nonconformity. At George Fox, we've been so inspired by Dr. King's legacy and his teaching. Internally, we work very hard to cultivate a community that celebrates diversity, where all members of our community and all people here can flourish the way we know that God has intended for them. And when there are violations to human dignity, we try to respond urgently with humility, radical love to bring restoration. But ultimately, we're not just inspired by Dr. King when we look inward at our own community. We're preparing students, spiritually, academically, professionally, to go out into this world. And we try to prepare them to be like Dr. King, a transformed nonconformist. Through academics, critical thinking, learning opportunities, service opportunities, and discipleship, we're helping our students be prepared to go into this world and identify where the patterns of this world are at odds with Christ and his kingdom. And like King, be transformed nonconformists who act in humility and radical love.